Hey, hi everybody, welcome. It's good to be with you today. We're into the theme of what it means to stand, and we're looking at different aspects of standing firm, standing together, standing for one another. Standing in is the theme we're in right now. Standing in, specifically today, the gap. Now we look at the book of Ezekiel and we see Ezekiel coming up with this terminology where he looks into the scenario around him and he sees that God is sad because God is on one side, there's a chasm between him and his people, and he's looking for somebody who can join them together. He always uses people. We've said that before. So God is looking for somebody who will take the hand of the hurting, take the hand of God, join them together, and then get out of there. And he's looking for that. He's still looking for people who are willing to do that. But before you start running off to be a stander-innerer in the gap person, you can understand that there's a bit of training that needs to happen. And it's not always easy, and not many people can pass the test of the training of somebody who's able to stand in the gap. I want to give you 3 of those things over the course of the next couple of days. The first one is that of understanding solitude. Every great gap stander in the Bible came out of the context of a period of solitude. There are many examples. Let me just give you one. Moses was in solitude in the nation, in the wilderness, when he came out of Pharaoh's palace and he came into this place of dryness and this desert, and for 40 years he had to live in the wilderness, and he became, in a sense, he had to deal with his addiction to himself. And in Pharaoh's land, in Egypt, man, he was the man. He was the guy. He was the one to take over from Pharaoh. And he was very easily prone to thinking he's number one, to think it's all about me. Well, I'm going to tell you, these people who stand in the gap have broken the back of this pride and of this arrogance. And they come out of this context of brokenness because of a period of solitude. I find it interesting. Moses had to have 40 years of solitude in the wilderness, and you've heard us say before, so he could get rid of the 40 years of junk that he'd accumulated in his mind that he'd got there in Egypt, telling him what a great person he was, telling him how great he was going to be, and he was going to be the son of Pharaoh, and he was going to take over the nation, and he was really going to be a somebody. There's not a single gap stander that I find in Scripture who comes with those qualifications. Most of them come broken. Most of them come in humility. And God is looking for men and women with that quality first of all. God is drawn towards humility. God cannot help himself. Humility is something like a magnet to God. And when people are humble, and when people come with brokenness, not patheticness, but with brokenness before God, God says, man, you look like a good gap stander-innerer. You look like somebody who understands brokenness. You look like somebody who could take the hand of the hurting because you understand what it means to hurt. And in solitude, you deal with the addiction that we have to ourselves. We're addicted to ourselves. We want more. We want more. And we want more again. And we want to build ourselves up. Look at the literature we read today about self-esteem, how to build a self-esteem. And let's talk about how to create a better self-image. And I got to tell you, the Bible and the Bible never read those books. They came from an absolute brokenness before God to say, God, here I am. I'm not much, but if you can use me, man, I'm available for that. And it's out of this period of solitude that we deal with our addiction to self. I think you've heard me say before that there is only one good self. You know what it is? It's a dead one. That we take ourselves, as Romans says, and we offer ourselves as a living sacrifice. A sacrifice is no good, people, until it is dead. But when your self dies and you are still alive, you look like you could be a good candidate for a gap stander-innerer, if you know what I mean. So solitude, don't be afraid of solitude. Solitude can be a great shaping place, a great forming place. Remember, in solitude, you sometimes think that you're alone. You're never alone. You're never lonely, although you may be alone, because God is with you in your solitude. Have a look at the story of Moses and you just see this absolutely beautiful truth. He was never alone. He may have been lonely. He was never alone because God was with him all those 40 years, preparing him, getting rid of Egypt out of him, and the wilderness is where that happens. So if you want to be a good gap stander, solitude is a great starting point for you. I'll take you to a couple more tomorrow and the next day, but stick with me. Have a good day. Bye.